Hello from Sri Lanka. It has been a while since I filmed anything, I think over a month, which is by far the longest I've gone without picking up my camera since I started YouTube. I think it's been a much needed break. I've been going pretty hard with creating content over the past 6-8 months, and I haven't really stopped and thought about what I want to make and how I want to make it. I've just been really consistently trying to make a video every single week. But I think now that I'm here, I've had some time off, I've also been knitting without thinking about filming it. I think I want to just try and create more videos that I would want to watch, like less sit down videos and more project vlogs. So with that in mind, I want to show you what I've been knitting over the past few days. I've got a really exciting little project. I am test knitting Katie Snooks' bandana. If you watched my autumn knitting plans, you'll have heard me talk about how much I want to make this as soon as the pattern is released. So I'm really excited to get like a little bit of a sneak preview. This is what I've done so far. It's a really beautiful lace pattern. I think this is the most intricate lace work I've ever done, but I'm really enjoying it. It's very nice and repetitive. The yarn I'm using is Drops Bell. This is in the shade 26. This was from my stash and I'm really glad to be able to use it up. I've got the exact right quantity to make this bandana. I'm knitting it on 4mm needles. I didn't gauge swatch because it's just a bandana, so I don't mind if it's like a little bit big or a little bit small. But as you can see, I'm having to use my short circulars because I've run out of cables for my interchangeable needles. I don't know where they've all gone. I think I've just cast on too many projects at once, but I'm making this work. I'm about halfway through my rows now. I think it's going to end up being twice the length of this, and this is the exact sort of project that I need at the moment, something that's quick and easy that I can throw in my bag and knit on while I'm at the beach. And I've got plenty of time left in Sri Lanka. I'm actually here for another month. I just went to Colombo the other day to extend my visa, so I'm going to be able to get to wear this as part of my like beach summer holiday wardrobe. The only thing on my agenda today is a surf lesson. I've got a sunset surf lesson. The surf here is the best I've ever experienced. I'm just a beginner, but I think today I'm going to learn how to turn on the surfboard, which is exciting. And I'll be knitting on this in the evening. So I'm going to take you along with me, show you the progress that I make on my bandana, and hopefully it'll be a nice change of scenery from my usual project vlogs. Now my final few rows of my bandana, and I'm really liking how it's looking. I was a bit worried using Drops Bell for lace work because in the past I found it to be quite splitty, and it still is, but not to the point where it's actually affected the knitting experience for this. The pattern's really nice because it's written out row by row with a little checkbox for you to tick off after every row so you don't lose count of where you are, but I'm actually at the point where I've memorized what to do, so I can just work on this without even referencing the pattern. And I thought I would take this time to chat to you about what I've been doing for the past month, because I haven't filmed anything. Part of me wishes that I did film this entire trip so I would have the footage to look back on as a bit of a memory box. I love looking back at my old travel vlogs, but I wasn't really in the headspace to do it. Like, we were staying in one place for 2 or 3 days and then moving on, staying in another place 2 or 3 days. Now we've settled in Welagama and we're going to be here, I think, for the rest of my time in Sri Lanka. And now that I've got a bit of a routine going, I feel like I can actually create videos, but it was a bit intense for the first month. I've had a few questions on my Instagram of people asking like how I found Sri Lanka and what my itinerary is, and I have to say it's one of the best countries I've ever been to. It just ticks every single box for me. It's a really, really beautiful country, and the people here are some of the most friendly and hospitable people I've ever met. Like, they're rivaling Glaswegians in terms of friendliness, which I think is a very high compliment indeed. The culture here and like the backpacking culture, I think is quite similar to Southeast Asia. This is my first time in South Asia, but I've spent a lot of time traveling around Southeast Asia, and I think if you've been to like Thailand or Indonesia, you wouldn't have any sort of culture shock coming here. The vibes are very similar, but I have to say I do prefer the food here. The rice and curry is just phenomenal. I have been eating very, very well. They have a lot of tuna burgers here and shrimp burgers, and I know saying the word burger is a bit blasphemous, saying that you've been eating like Western cuisine, but you don't get like tuna or shrimp burgers in the UK, and I really wish that you did, because I don't eat meat and I find vegan burgers to be a bit meh. Like, they can be alright but not very Moorish. Tuna burgers are so Moorish. I have been eating probably the most burgers that I ever have done in my life because they're so good. I'm not solo traveling on this trip, I'm traveling with my partner, but I would feel completely comfortable solo traveling in Sri Lanka. There's a really good hostel culture here, good backpacking culture. It's really easy to get around. The public transport in Sri Lanka, for the most part, is really good. We've had to get a few taxis and private transfers between like 2 places, but for the most part the buses and trains have been great and really cheap as well, especially compared to a lot of Southeast Asia where you have to get van transfers for 15-20 pounds every time you want to get anywhere new. So the first month sort of looked like this. We started off in Colombo. We stayed there for 3 days with the intention of extending our visas while we were there, which we didn't end up doing and had to do very last minute, which I wouldn't recommend. But there wasn't very much to see and do in Colombo, but it was a good place for me to get over my jet lag. Then we got a 4-hour train up to Sigiriya, which is this sort of small jungle village or town, and it's known for these massive granite rocks. The most famous one is called Lion's Rock. It's a very small hike, like 20 minutes to get up to the top of these rocks, but the views from them are just spectacular, especially at sunset. It's sort of the only thing to do in Sigiriya, but well worth it. From there we got a private transfer down to Kandy, which I think is the ancient capital of Sri Lanka. Kandy is certainly more interesting than Colombo. There's a few really cool Buddhist temples to see there. The Temple of the Tooth, which apparently has the Buddha's tooth in it, is by far the most interesting Buddhist temple that I've ever seen. I think we ended up staying in Kandy for 3 nights and then got a bus through the mountains to Nuwara Eliya. Nuwara Eliya is one of the most interesting places that I have ever been to. It is very close to the highest peak of Sri Lanka. It's completely in the clouds. The weather is just like being on top of a really high mountain. It can get super windy, super rainy at the drop of a hat. The temperature is also way lower. So here I'm on the coast, I'm on the beach, it's like 27 degrees today, but in Nuwara Eliya it was like 14 or 15 degrees, like really cold and really, really humid. Nuwara Eliya is known for its tea plantations, which is all from the British colonization. There didn't used to be barely any tea grown in Sri Lanka before the British, but in Nuwara Eliya there are a lot of tea factories that you can tour and see how the tea is made. But I think the main attraction of Nuwara Eliya, for me at least, was seeing the British colonial buildings. They've got this post office from the 1890s. They've got this old Grand Hotel where they still serve like afternoon tea. It's absolutely bizarre. It feels really weird as someone from the UK to be there now, but I read a lot of Agatha Christie books and a lot of them are set in British colonial territories, and I just felt like I was stepping right into an Agatha Christie book. They have like a man-made lake that's made for punting, and they have all the little boats that you can rent and go out. They have a Victoria Park. It's all very weird and dreamlike and super, super interesting, and there's also a lot of really beautiful waterfalls in that area that we got to see. Then from Nuwara Eliya we got the famous train to Ella. If you see a photo of someone hanging out of a train in Sri Lanka, it is more than likely going to be the line from Kandy to Ella via Nuwara Eliya. It's actually very peaceful because the maximum speed limit for the train is like 15 miles an hour the entire journey. journey. I learned after the fact that it's actually a bucket list item for a lot of people to go on that train, and it was a very nice experience. It was very chill, but at the end of the day it's a train journey. I think it ended up taking maybe 2 or 2.5 hours to get to Ella from Nuara Eliya, and then we ended up staying in Ella, I think, for 4 nights. Ella is this beautiful little town in the mountains. We had some great food there. We didn't attempt any of the larger hikes. I think in another timeline I would have liked to. There's this trail called the Pico Trail that people specifically come to do and hike, but honestly I just get so lazy in the heat. I just don't want to exert myself that much. So we did some of the, I hate calling like 20-minute walks hikes, but yeah, we did like the 20-minute hikes up the smaller mountains to watch the sunset. Had a really good yoga class in Ella, like one of those yoga classes that's just like mind-blowing. Every once in a while I'll get so lucky to stumble across a yoga class with a teacher that's just like in another dimension, and it was like really transformative. It ended up stirring up a lot of emotions in me because I'm in like quite a transitional period of my life. I think the whole like moving to Berlin in the spring and then back again has shaken me more than I would like to admit on the surface, because I had this whole game plan of what I was going to be doing for the next year or two, and now I don't have any game plan left. And I find a lot of peace sort of knowing what I'm going to be doing with my life, at least for the next year, and I don't anymore, which has left me feeling maybe a little bit, shall we say, unraveled, if you'll pardon the pun. Then from Ella we had to get a private transfer to come here to Weligama, which is on the south coast of Sri Lanka, and I ended up having a bit of trouble on that private transfer because I had got food poisoning. And we had initially come to Weligama to celebrate my birthday, which was on the 6th of October, but unfortunately that food poisoning lasted, I think, a full week, maybe even 8 days. So I was completely out of the game. I was feeling a bit better by my birthday, like I wasn't in actual pain, even though I didn't feel up to doing much, which was not how I'd like to spend my birthday. I turned 28, and since I was maybe like 5 years old, 28's been my favorite number. So I think I had put a little bit of pressure on myself for my 28th year and my 28th birthday to be something special, and I was quite worried about that. But actually on the day I felt really good about it, because I realized that no matter what I had ended up doing for my 28th birthday, it probably wouldn't have been enough to satisfy like this pressure of my favorite number coming around. And I ended up feeling really good within myself, even though I didn't do anything. I felt like I'd had some kind of rebirth and maybe a slight shifting of my priorities, and even though I still don't know what I'm gonna do with my 28th year, I feel like I've set an intention of how I want to feel and what I want to prioritize, which felt really good after a few months of feeling pretty lost. And since then we've just stayed in Weligama, and I've been focusing on setting up a bit of a routine for myself in this new place. I've started my Open University course, so I'm back to being a master's student, and I've kind of built my routine around studying in the afternoon and surfing just before sunset. I was planning on trying to establish a bit of a gym routine while I'm here, but it's just too hot and the gyms don't have AC. So surfing is my only form of exercise for now. I also did an amazing sterling silver jewellery making workshop while I was here, and I made this incredible ring. I am so happy with how this has turned out. I keep seeing rings that look like this advertised on my Instagram stories for really like expensive prices. They had gemstones that you could pick to add to your jewelry, and I found this super like rough cut sapphire that I added to the ring. You start by being given a blob of wax and like a hot rod, and you shape the wax into what you want the ring to look like, and then they sand cast it and put some sterling silver in it. I'm hoping that when I get back it will fit one of my other fingers when my hands stop swelling from all this heat. Yeah, I think it's beautiful. I'm actually really tempted to go back and do another workshop before I leave. I think it was only 50 USD to do the class, so I think cheaper than buying one of these rings online. I always end up buying a ring as a souvenir in any country that I spend a lot of time in, so This is my Sri Lanka ring, and that I think is a pretty comprehensive itinerary of what I've been doing for the past month. I haven't been knitting that much. I've been trying to sort of decouple my knitting from my content creation and knit some stuff that I'm not sharing on the internet, which has been nice for me because I feel absolutely no time pressure around those projects. So far anyway, because they're going to be Christmas gift knits. And yeah, I think I'll probably finish this bandana today or tomorrow, and I'll check in with you once it's blocked and dried. A good few days since my last update. I got struck down by some really nasty virus. I think it might have been COVID or some other kind of flu, but I was bedbound for 2 days and really not feeling well for like another 2 or 3 days. Yesterday's the first day where I was like a normal person again. Really not enjoying being struck down by illness twice in 1 month. I'm not used to that, and I really don't want to become used to that. But I did have a lot of time to knit while I was sitting in bed. So as you can see, I have finished my Chelsea lace bandana. That's the name of the pattern, if I've not said that before. I am so happy with how it's turned out, and it is a true one skein of yarn project. This is how much I have left of my bowl of dropped bell. I did bring a little bit of extra scraps with me just in case one bowl wasn't enough, but it clearly was, and this is gonna end up going into my massive scrap yarn blanket when I get home. This is actually my first ever all over lace pattern, and it's just turned out so pretty. There's like a garter stitch border here, there's an I-cord at the top and to create the little strings. It just looks so intricate. I know that like all over lace work on a sweater or a cardigan wouldn't really suit me and my style, but this is a really nice way for me to actually get to knit some all over lace. I also think that adding I-cords for the strings is genius, because a lot of the bandana patterns that I see, you would have to end up tying like something this thick into a knot and it would look really bulky on the back of your head. I've also been playing around with ways to wear this, and it could make a really cute little scarf or tiny beach cover up. I think if you made it a little bit bigger, it could be a really nice tank top or sarong, but I am going to wear it on my head as intended. I think this is my first proper post-blocking try on actually. I have a really flat back of my head, so I can't wear bandanas like the normal way tied under my hair because it just slips up. So I'm just like tying it in a knot in the back. Yeah, I think this is how I'm gonna wear it. This is what it looks like at the back. It's gonna be a little surprise for my editing self to look at, see if it actually looks any good. I think I need to play around with the exact point of my forehead where it sits right, but yeah, good, successful project. So this is my first finished project while I'm in Sri Lanka. Oh, also I should say that even though the pattern was in testing, it was like flawless to finish. So hopefully if you want to knit this too, the pattern will be released soon, because I don't think that Katie needs to make any changes to it. I have also started on another project while I was in bed and binge watching Celebrity Traitors. What a show. So much better than normal Traitors, and I already love normal Traitors. I'm so invested. I'm also on like Traitors Instagram and TikTok. I saw the funniest comment on one of the videos yesterday. Reel was making fun of how no one votes for Jonathan. I don't think that's a real spoiler. And the comment was, "Jonathan, I saw you walking out the turret last night in a green cloak, and that's why I'm voting for Claudia Winkleman." I'm so in it. I'm so deeply invested in Traitors. I actually think it's better when they're not competing for money for themselves. I think it makes them a little bit less stressed out. Last season of the non-celebrity Traitors, they were all like on edge 24 hours a day. Anyway, here's my next project. I am gonna be making a bucket hat, which is a bit of a wild card, I guess, along with the bandana, because I have never worn a bucket hat in my life, but I think a crochet bucket hat could
be cute. But I've never been very good with hot weather accessories. I'm so bad at styling outfits when I can't layer. But I have this scrap yarn that I need to use up, and it's not the kind of yarn that you can use for many projects. So even if I don't get the most use out of this bucket hat, it will suit me fine to get rid of this yarn. This is Isair Japansk mold in the color either number 0 or number 1. I have quite a lot of it. I'm holding it double. It's this really fine ribbon-like cotton. I'm holding it double and using a 3.5mm crochet hook. I imagine I'm still gonna have some yarn left over at the end of this, but hopefully not too much. I am kind of following this free pattern by Viv Crochets. I think there's a YouTube tutorial for this too, but this tutorial recommends like a 5.5mm hook and a thicker yarn to go along with it, but it's kind of got a few pointers in it if you're not working to the same gauge. So for instance, this is going to be like the top of a hat, and I'm going to increase the circle until it's the same circumference as the circumference of my head. I think from a very quick read through of the whole pattern, making a hat is a lot simpler than I thought it would be. There's basically 3 components, like the top bit, the bit that goes down, and then the bit that juts out. So I have a lot of confidence that I can tweak that pattern to work with this yarn. The first thing that I made with all this yarn was actually a crochet tote bag that I brought with me and I'm using a lot. So I'm gonna have a matching hat and bag to wear together. Today we're gonna go on a day trip to a neighbouring town called Gal. So I'm gonna pack this in my bag and hopefully it's not gonna get even more tangled than it already is. It's wild how this room is actually so pretty in real life, but this is the only camera angle I can get of it that doesn't suck. The windows are just like in the wrong place. Anyway, I have made a bit of progress on my crochet bucket hat, and I'm feeling uncertain about this project. This is what it's looking like so far. So I finished increasing the circle and now I'm working on the body of it, but I'm just so unsure of the sizing of this. And also the sample hat in the pattern that I'm semi-following is a super tight gauge and it makes it really structured, and this is like the exact opposite of that. There's no structure to this. It's really like floppy and flimsy, and I'm just not sure if it's gonna like just droop in front of my eyes while I make it, but I guess only time will tell. I am super confused about the size that this is meant to be. I had one extra round on the size of this circle, and the pattern says to like measure it to be similar to the circumference of your head, and this was just way bigger. So I undid 2 rows, which made it the same circumference of my head, and started making like the sides down here, and it looked tiny, like it looked child size. So I've ended up like going for something in the middle, but it still looks like, I don't know, in my head this looks too small, but maybe I just don't understand the construction of this yet. I think genuinely the only way I'm gonna know if this is the right size for me or if it's too big or too small is to like be almost finished and then be able to try it on. This is now way bigger than the circumference of my head, but it's still just like, I feel like I couldn't have gotten any smaller than this just because of like the way it's gonna sit at the back. I don't know. I didn't expect to be so stumped with like a simple bucket hat, but I guess I'm just gonna keep going and show you what I got. It's kind of giving like weird little beret at the moment, so yeah, not the highest of hopes right now. I finished the hat. This is what it looks like on. I don't like it. I think it kind of gives a little Bo Peep more than bucket hat, which is not what I was going for. It's purely because like the open gauge has like completely warped the structure. I think the size of it's turned out pretty good, but yeah, I don't like how it looks. So I was trying to brainstorm what I could do. I was thinking first I could put some wire through like the brim and the bit at the top. I don't actually know where I can get some wire. However, I have loads of yarn left, so I've started crocheting a way more structured version of the top of the hat. This is with a 2mm crochet hook, and I think either I can put this on the inside of this hat to give it a little bit of integrity, and maybe that'll hold its shape more. And if that doesn't work, I might just crochet another entire hat, which will take a lot longer with a tiny little hook. But yeah, I'm not really into how this is looking. I think maybe for someone else, like someone that's into wearing straw hats, this could be nice. But it's not what I was looking for. But I have faith in my idea. I also haven't blocked this. I don't think I will block it because the last project I made with this yarn, blocking made no difference. So I don't think that will save it. But hopefully this will. I realised pretty quickly that I just need to go all out and make a complete new second version of this hat. I've just cast it off and it's so much better than the first version. I'm still not 1000% sure if this is like my final version. In the pattern, the recommendation for the brim is to increase every other row. I did that for 5 rows and I tried it on, and then I realized I do actually want the brim to go out a bit more than that. So then I think I did 3 more rows increasing every row. And I'm not sure if I'm happy with that decision or if I want to rip the brim back and increase every single row just so it like juts out even more. But like, it's a viable hat, right? This used up so much more yarn than the first version. I finished all of the rest of the yarn that I had and I ended up having to go back into this first version of the hat, and this is all that I'm left with. It's just a sad little circle. It's not really enough yarn to make anything else with, so this will probably be going into my scrap yarn blanket along with the rest of my dropped bell. The bandana's already been worn a few times. It's really useful for wearing under a slightly gross rental helmet when I'm driving my scooter around, and I think this hat could be used for that too. I also really like that it hides my fringe a lot because it's really hot out and my fringe sometimes gets like super sweaty and piecey and gross, and this just covers the worst of it. Thank you so much for watching. I'm hoping I can film one more video while I'm still in Sri Lanka. I think I'm leaving in just over 2 weeks, so hopefully I can make some progress on the other projects that I brought with me and share that with you too. I hope you're doing well, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!